Okay, I want to welcome you all here today. It's a very, very special day, and I'm sure there's a lot of new guests, and some of you will be aware of what you're going to see here, and some of you may not know at all. My recommendation is that you just have a nice, open mind to this, because if the timing is right, and you see what we see, this could be one of the most defining days of your lives. Before I introduce the first speaker, because we're going to do a business briefing, can you please just check your phones? Make sure they're either turned off or on silent. There's going to be some key information today that if you get distracted by a phone, you may miss it, which could literally change your life. We are very, very blessed that we have got some incredible speakers that have flown in from parts of the world. Most of them are actually from America. They're about to go on a special trip to Norway because of how successful they are and how many people they've been able to help around the world as well. So this is a one-off opportunity. And sometimes you get one opportunity, maybe two opportunities in your life that will change your life forever. So the first speaker is an incredible woman. I got to hang out with her yesterday afternoon and travel around London and have some lunch together with her and her husband and some other great people. She's got a corporate background, very successful corporate background, and she was working as a buyer with at least $15 million American as a budget to work with, traveling all around America and sometimes parts of the world as well. She is a mother as well. She and her husband have been in this business for 14 years, have done some of the most extraordinary things with this and what they've been able to do around the world as well. But I'm going to let her explain more of her story. So please help me welcome up to the stage, Julie Toth.
For this? Yes. Hey, thank you.
No problem.
All right. Can you hear me okay? All right. So since I'm from Texas, I want to give a great big hello, and we're going to say y'all. So y'all are going to have to do this at the same time. You're going to learn Texan. Since I don't know how to speak English, we're going to learn Texan, okay? So let's say, hi, y'all. Hi, y'all. All right. No, I'm not really from Texas, but I live there now, and I call myself a Texan. It's good to be here. My name is Julie Toth. I'm actually from a tiny town called Waller, Texas, outside of Houston, about an hour. And when I was introduced to this business 14 years ago, I was a single mom with an 18-month-old, and I knew this. And a lot of you sitting there know that you're hard workers. I'm a hard worker. My father taught me that at a young age. I grew up on a ranch in Oklahoma, and I'm going to work hard. Now, the question is not, am I going to work hard? What am I going to do for the next chapter of my life? Because I didn't want to keep my child in a situation like a daycare. I wanted to be able to have him at home. I wanted my career. And I knew whatever step I made next, I could either be a victim or a victor. And I was going to work hard. But what if I could find something that could allow me to make money tomorrow based on my efforts today? That sounds kind of interesting. That means, how do we multiply time when we don't have any, or multiply money when we don't have any? So a lot of people think, gosh, I had a corporate career, I made a lot of money. Sure, but I found myself as a statistic, cash poor, and I didn't have two pennies to rub together, but I did have a nice house and a nice car. And so a lot of you sit at that place and you wonder, is that story going to define me? Well, whatever your story is today, the real question is, where are you going? Where do you want to go? What do you want it to look like? As we sit and look at our vision and we look at this slide, what's that vision? So going from that story of where I started creating the vision. I started looking for the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And now I'm married to an incredible man you're going to get to meet in a minute. We have a beautiful ranch. I always dreamed of having that ranch that my parents, I grew up on. I thought, gosh, could I have that in Texas? We have a beautiful ranch. We have retired my parents. They live on that ranch with us in a beautiful home, and it's called Double Arrow Ranch. So I welcome you to come out there. We have horses, we have cattle, and we're able to just spend quality time as a family. And so I ask you today, what if you could embrace the possibility? What if you could embrace what it is you're looking for tomorrow on today's vision with Nuskin? And so you're in a situation right now, you might see yourself as you're looking at this as being the business builder, being able to teach people and educate people, maybe more in the sales. You know, I always say I've not sold anybody in 14 years because I don't want that job. I want to inspire. I want to share stories. What if you could do the same? What if you could make a difference in people's lives, one person at a time? I always dreamt of, as a child, making a difference in people's lives. And as a buyer, I loved what I did, but I really didn't feel like I was a doctor or anybody making a difference. And today, we make a difference in a lot of people's lives, and maybe you can too. And as a consumer, you might find your home here as a consumer, and you're doing just that. You're a great billboard for us, and we love that as well. Now, do you see yourself? I always ask people, where do you see yourself? What if you could? What if you could do more? What if you could make a difference? What if you could move outside your comfort zone? What if you could create something magical just by sharing some information? And so let's go to the next slide. We're going to cover a couple key things today. We're going to cover trends. I'm going to go through a few of the trends, the partnership. Now, what would it be like if you weren't dependent and your family wasn't dependent on just your efforts? What if you could partner with a great group of people to work towards a common goal? We're going to talk about the products and the science, the compensation, and lastly, your timing, our timing, and together as a team, what our timing is. Now, a couple things that happen in our life. We know that there are a lot of trends going on. So what's the trend in America? What's the trend in Europe? What's the trend around the world? The internet. You know, I remember, just like it was yesterday, being a buyer and we were working in retail, and someone said the day after a holiday, we're never going to have internet sales on clothes and the things we have today. In fact, there is a great picture, and we heard, you know, what it looked like 10 years ago. We would have this camcorder over one side and this camera on the other side, and all the things we used to have as technology today is summed up in a phone the size of this little clicker. And that's created such exciting trends because in a click, we can create magic. I don't know if you guys know this, but a couple of years ago with our company, in a matter of seconds, through the internet, hundreds of millions of dollars went through in a matter of hours to create something magical. We're able to do that through the internet shopping, technology, communication, through our contacts. And people say, I don't know anybody. Well, you look at your phone, and the number of contacts you have is remarkable because of the internet. Just out here in the midst of everybody, I was connecting with people on the internet, immediately creating that connection. And so who are you connected with that you can make a difference in people's lives? Now, we're going to talk a little bit about how we move things through this partnership. What if you had a company that did all the advertising for you, that did all the distribution, did all the factory work, did all the science, and got all that done from point A to point B for you to create your dreams, pulling everything together, taking out the middleman. I love that. It really changes the way we look at business today. Now, our focus is more and more on getting old. Now, I can tell you, being married to Bill, we have 3 beautiful children. We have a 20-year-old, we have a 15-year-old, and we have a 7-year-old. When we go into that first grade classroom, those parents are almost the age of our 20-year-old. I mean, they're in their 20s. And here I am, double that age. And so aging's super important to me, super important to all of us. No matter we're young or old, one of the things we don't want is to mimic history and do the crazy things like our parents and our grandparents have done. So it's not a matter of getting old, it's a matter of the things that happen as we turn that calendar forward. Are we nervous and worried about getting ugly, tired, fat, broke? What is that? I mean, that's kind of basic, right? It's not really worried about everything else. It's worried about being a statistic. Another thing that worries us is when we're in our 40s is we don't want our kids in 50s and 60s. We don't want our kids to have to take care of us. You know, we don't want to get ugly, but we certainly don't want to be horizontal in bed. We want to be able to do things, right? And so looking at what we're doing something very unique. And so I like to use this story. When we talk about aging, if you went home today, went to your flat, went to your home and it was a beautiful day and there was water pouring out of your house, would you go around to the corner, go up to your garage, get the broom and the mop and start mopping up the front porch? Well, no, you'd go in and turn off the water, right? You turn off the source. And that's what we're doing with epigenetics, is we're turning off the source. And I'll have the doctor kind of take over that part of it in just a minute. Now, the other key thing is we know that we're living longer. In our Time magazine in America, it showed that a baby today is going to live to 142 years old. Wow, now that throws a lot of things. What am I going to do for money? And what am I going to look like at 142 years old? You can get kind of concerned about that, right? So again, we're really focused on this. Now, I don't know about you, but every 15 seconds, a baby boomer is turning 65. And they are not wanting to get old. And then the younger generation is not wanting to do the things that they saw their older parents do as well. So the increasing focus on trends in aging and wellness. So here, as well as in America, we're looking at prevention. We're looking at how we can go against what was happening before instead of treating it. It's a huge market. And the world now is a network. So what I say here gets transpired all around the world. And there's people in this room from places like Australia and places like Texas and California, just here in the same room. Now let's go to the next slide. Our partner is uniquely positioned, and I love talking about who we are as a company. It's really not who the statistics are. If I can share a little bit about the heart of the company. So one of the things that I was looking for as a single mom, I'd gone through a lot, and my past doesn't have to equal my future. And at that point, I thought, one of my core values is integrity. And the company's match on integrity is second to none. I've never seen a company with such integrity. After 10 years in the company, now 14, I love the company even more than I did the first day I started. And I remember being in corporate America, and that was not the case. I learned way too much that I didn't want to know. And so the integrity of the company can't be seen by statistics, but hopefully you get to understand that a little bit as you hear from all of us today. Now, Nuskin, we're in 53 markets. What that allows us to do is seamlessly create income all over the world. What if you had a company just like that you could talk to people around the world and create an income that wasn't just dependent on what your pound or dollar, any of that is worth, right? It's around the world. And we have the amazing revenue that we've had today. In America, we have over 300 financial institutions that use our stock and their mutual funds. What does that mean? There's a lot of people looking at Nuskin for who they are behind the scenes and what they can be a part of. Now, we had over $2 billion in business over the last few years. And what that means for you is the positioning as we go to $10 billion is unique. And some of the products you're going to hear from today, one category specifically, will be developing into a $7 billion piece of that $10 billion market. Just in a year's time frame that we're going to see that develop. Now, being in 53 markets and being a company that's trusted, we're 5A1 on the Dun & Bradstreet. You guys can read that there's a lot of other things behind the scenes. There's a lot of great things that are talked about, not only Forbes, Fortune, etc. Here's really where the heart of the company is, though. Bill and I had a chance to go to Malawi, Africa last August. And we knew that we'd been working with these amazing people over there for 11 years. And did you know that there's a program out there that our company backs with a Force for Good Foundation, that we're able to purchase a food product for children that feeds their bodies, gives them the nutrients that they need to actually heal those bodies that have been malnourished and not being able to eat. This bag of Vitameal is now purchased by us as distributors, and then we donate that through our Force for Good Foundation. Well, here's the best part. When we went to see what we'd been doing in Malawi, we realized the power of what we do as a business model. That power of the business model we use in this indigenous country and other ones around the world. where we go in and create farming schools to help people with their yields, and then we actually make the food there in that country. And then it's given out to the orphans. It's an incredible program. We have fed over 440 million meals to starving children just over 10 years. It's an incredible place. We're able to feed over 100,000 meals today. Children around the world will be fed 100,000 meals a day in this program. So it's only 5% of what we do, but it's the heart of the company. It's 95%. And when you're able and asked to go to Malawi or go see some of the things we're doing in food pantries or things that we're doing in different parts of the world, say yes, because it's a great way to get an understanding of who we are as a company and really network farming at its finest. Now, let's get into the science. Let's get into the products. If you took all the companies that are in our industry, the wellness companies, the networking companies, and you put all of their scientists in a room, did you know we still have more than they do? All of them combined? We have over 75 full-time scientists, 150 we collaborate with, that we pay $10 million a year for our science and our research. Now, you're in the presence today of an incredible man with lots of degrees, very, very analytical when it comes to science. Now, I'll just leave that for him. I'm analytical when it comes to business. And so I'm going to let him kind of tell the science story. That was the fun part of marrying Bill for more than one reason. Another fun reason, I was just telling this story to Christian outside. When I met him, I thought, this is great. He worked with Tony Robbins, Artemis as well. And they're going to be great speakers, and they can share the word, and I'll never have to speak in front of people. I don't know how Guy got the memo for me to be up here, because it's really them. I'm going to let them take the stage. But I really love to be here with you guys, really love to share and have the passion for what we do as a company. And so it's with great pleasure I introduce you to my best friend, my husband, a guy with a lot of credentials, front page of the sports section, did basketball camp with Michael Jordan of all people, but had a great career as a physician in Chicago. So take it away, Dr. Bill Toth.
Thank you, honey.
I don't want to get...
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. I usually ask you to stand up for the applause at the end. And that was for yourselves for being here. You could be anywhere in the world today, and you're here with us, and that's awesome for you. I had an awesome career. I loved what I did. Anybody here say that about their job? Loved what I did. I was Mr. It, and I was one of 7 docs chosen to travel with what you call football, what we call soccer in the U.S., and that was an adventure treating athletes that couldn't speak English. And I had multiple offices and multiple staff and multiple overhead, and I was Mr. It. And I would be the first one to tell you that. And people don't generally like that when you come at them with ego. And so in the 8th year of my practice, my Creator gave me humility in the form of a daughter. And when I left the house in the morning, it was dark and she was asleep. When I got home at night, it was dark and she was asleep. And I hated that. I thought, if I had this little critter, I should be the one raising her, not some daycare facility. But what do you do when you have all of your life invested in a career and then it's not working for you on the inside where it matters? And a few years later, 4 years later to be specific, I was introduced to a company called Pharmanex. I loved what I saw, Nuskin and Pharmanex. Here was a company that was still run by its founders, and here was a new company that they were purchasing that had all these scientists on staff. And since I worked with athletes and focused on sports and neurology, athletes always want to be the best. And they want the best products to put inside their body. And here was a company that delivered it. These guys are from 30 different disciplines, and they're working on the biggest problems of aging, which is getting three problems of aging, is ugly, tired, and fat. Okay? And that's what people are concerned about as they get older. I don't care if I'm 140 years old as long as I'm vertical and able to do things. Right? We don't want to be 100 years old and be horizontal and having our kids take care of us. That's not much fun. So 75 scientists on staff cost us millions of dollars, and they get to play in brand new laboratories, which is a lot of fun for them. And thank goodness they're up there for us. Now, what shifted our focus as a company is the purchase of a company called LifeGen. LifeGen, you might remember, in the early 2000s, they helped unravel the human genome. And then 2008, they figured out how to put all of our genes on that computer chip. And when they did that, they also figured out how to test products against the genes to see what turns them on or turns them off. And when I say that, in layman's terms, I want you to think of the dimmer switch on your lights or the volume switch on your car stereo. You can turn up the volume. It doesn't change the car, and it doesn't change the stereo. It just changes how it's operating. And that's what we're doing in the field of epigenetics. We're changing how the genes operate, and we can influence hundreds or thousands of genes with the products we put into our body. And that's the foundation of what we're going to be doing for the next who knows how many years until something better comes along. Now, these are heat maps. That's looking at gene activity on a computer chip. And you can see the different colors there. The different colors represent the activity of the genes, whether it's high or low. And our company developed the first products for the outside of the body because human beings are kind of vain and they like to take care of how they appear before they spend money on the inside. Okay, that's a general rule. You can make some gender references to that, but I'm not going to because I might get in trouble. So it's the genetic piece that really caught my attention. And it caught my attention at a time in Julie and I's life when we had actually retired. We had built our Nuskin business across multiple countries, 9 of which we've never personally set foot in and don't speak the language. But we knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, and we were making more money than what we needed. And the fact is once you have a roof over your head and food on your table, life is about serving others. And so that's the point of life we were at. We were just going to raise our kids and serve others. And 2 weeks later, the company showed us a slide like this, and I said to Julie, I said, you know what? If this is true and we're really heading this direction, we cannot be retired and miss it because everybody's going to want what these kinds of products do. And it was on a plane flight once, going to Provo, going to our home office, and I was upgraded to first class, and another woman was upgraded to first class next to me. And this little quote-unquote chance meeting changed both of our lives forever. I was burned out from medicine. I really didn't want anything to do with medicine at that point in my life. And I kept up with my journals because it's my passion, but I didn't really want to be out there in the medical world. I just was burned out from it. But this person that I'm going to introduce to you next, what she does during the day caught my attention. Taking disadvantaged kids and putting them on horses as a form of therapy. I'd never seen about that, heard about that before until sitting next to her on a plane. And so without much further ado, I want to introduce to you someone that I affectionately call Mother Earth. Because when my ideas get too big and too lofty, she grounds me. Okay? I have 2 grounding rods in my life. My wife is one of them and Kim is the other. So let's introduce Ms. Kim Russell, fellow Team Elite, to tell her story.
Hello. Yes, I did meet him at 35,000 feet, and that's truly where you get the God gifts a lot of the times. But my name is Kim Russell, and I'm the founder and executive director of Morning Glory Ranch out in Waller, Texas, little bitty town. And we're got one red light and a bunch of horses and cows is really all we have. But I spent 25 years in public education, and 15 of that I taught mostly biology and biochemistry. And then I was a principal of a high school for the last 10 years. So I, kind of did my due diligence in the world. But I retired 5 years ago, and when I retired, I had no idea how I was going to take care of myself. And I don't know about you guys in public education here. I don't know how it works here, but you don't ever retire. You just have to quit. So I built Morning Glory Ranch when I first became a principal, mainly because of all the kids in my office. And those of you that have worked with any kind of special needs children or at-risk youth or charities or nonprofits or any of that, those kids need a lot of our attention. And I just thought, you know what, I got to build a place that I can educate them different. And so I built Morning Glory Ranch, started bringing those kids out, teaching. When I retired, I had no way to fund this dream, this 10-year-old nonprofit that I had built that was doing amazing things for kids. And I don't know if you guys have ever been in that situation where you've been a professional beggar, but if you run a nonprofit or a charity in any way, that's what you are. You're just out there professionally begging, asking for money all the time. living fundraiser to fundraiser, paycheck to paycheck. Well, I was kind of tired of that, but what do you do? What do you do when you don't have any money to support a dream or a passion or your goal? Well, you say a biggest prayer you've ever said in your life, and you talk to all 17 horses that you have in your pasture. That's what you do. And you ask just to be put where you needed to be. And the very next week, I was on a plane. I was doing some research in essential oils, which we have out now, thank goodness. But I'd spent about 15 years researching and working with essential oils in children with autism and horses. And here, Nuskin was getting ready to launch some. I was so excited. But I was headed to do some research, and God put me by this man on a plane where I had spent 8 years working on this type of information. So what you're looking at here is all 25,000 genes on a computer chip. And he was actually in a clinical trial for the first genetic product, which was called Vitality. You guys know that product? Any of y'all on that product right now? Yeah. R squared, that's right. Y'all get that over here. My first dissertation that I had worked on when I first became a principal was mitochondrial function in children with ADHD. And I don't know if y'all remember in the 90s, everybody was ADHD. Yeah, everybody was ADHD. And so there was a lot of research. And so I started working on mitochondrial function and how that was affecting these children that I was bringing out to my ranch, never really having a good way to measure it. But what your company did is put all 25,000 genes on a computer chip and designed the first product to turn those genes back on in the mitochondria. That's pretty awesome. And that's what he was in the clinical trial for. So I was like, I want some of that for the kids that we were working with. So you're looking at mitochondrial function. I don't know how this slide works compared to our slide.
Just finish your story.
So anyway, I retired, got him. Dr. Bill and Julie walked into our life, completely changed what we were able to do with this nonprofit. Within 2 years, we had so many children that we had really made such a difference with the nutrition. Being able to measure how well they're absorbing nutrients was the main focus for me, being able to empower parents to be able to make really good lifestyle changes and to no longer have to guess if what their children is absorbing is absorbing. And that was the biggest gift, the biggest powerful gift I could give my parents or any of us. Now none of us have to guess anymore. So we had so many children that had started talking that never spoke a word in their life, really because we started turning on the little engines in their brain and measuring how well those little engines were protected. And that's the biggest gift we have with Nuskin and these children with special needs. And so we did that and implemented that over the last 4 years. A year and a half ago, we were able to build a brand new 40,000 square foot facility because of Nuskin.
Good deal.
So we didn't just save it. We saved this little nonprofit in Waller, Texas, but we built a great big facility now. And the best thing that we get to do is make a difference all over the world, not just in this little town. And that's probably the greatest thing that I get to do personally, because I, like Julie, would rather have Bill do all of the talking.
Okay.
So glad you had me in London.
Take that with you, because that's what the guys in the back. All right, so you just heard from Mother Earth, and let's continue on. We work on the inside and the outside of the body. You are what you eat, and what you put in your body is very important. And I've learned, and since this year, I have been taking a dumpster dive on what we put in our body in terms of food isn't always what we think it is, and we have to be very careful with what we put inside us. And so our company uses that genetic database. It is the largest genetic database in the world as it relates to anti-aging. We own it, and those of you that have your business hats on today, that means no other company can take that information and make a competitive product. So if you're going to start a business for yourself, you want to have something that no one else has, and that's what we have with LifeGen and the products we get to create. We also have another unique tool called the biophotonic scanner. This device used to be bigger than this stage. It was invented at the same place as the artificial heart, and those scientists were looking for a way to measure antioxidants in the back of the human eye, and they discovered that human beings are so picky, they don't like having a needle stuck in their eye for a biopsy. And so our scientists looked around the world and they found this laser technology called Raman spectroscopy, and they built this device that was bigger than this stage, and you sat in front of it and you put your goggles on and they shine laser beams in your eye, and gosh darn it, people didn't like that either. And subsequent research showed that if you took a reading in the palm of the hand, it's just as accurate as the back of the eye, and both of those are more accurate than a tissue biopsy, more accurate than blood work, more accurate than breath, more accurate than urinalysis. And so suddenly what you had is technology that is still today the only way to measure antioxidants in living human tissue in real time. And our company was smart enough to buy the rights to that for 20 years. We've had it for 11 years now. We've scanned over 20 million people, and that gives us the other largest database in the world as it relates to lifestyle and antioxidants. And if you go out into PubMed.gov, the largest health database in the world, and you put in any disease condition you can name and the word antioxidants, you're going to find a body of research. Now, some of you in the audience, and don't raise your hand, I don't want to embarrass you, don't know what antioxidants are or why this would be important. So let me just share with you why antioxidants are important. Look at where you're sitting. You're sitting on a chair made of synthetic material on top of carpet, which is made from synthetic material. Those are petroleum-based products, and they are giving off toxins at room temperature. If you picked your clothes up from the dry cleaners and slapped them on your body this morning, those chemicals are going right into your skin. Then you're going to get in your car this afternoon, and even though it's relatively cool here, those car plastic products are giving off toxins. And when you get in your car, and the first thing you do is turn on the air conditioner or the heater, and you breathe them all into your body. And then you're going to go eat at a restaurant. You're going to eat food that has stuff in it that you don't know where it came from, and it's got names this long that was added to it to help preserve it. Sprayed on it. Maybe the fruit was washed. Maybe it wasn't. You don't know. Okay? Then you're going to go home, and you're going to take a shower in fluorinated water, put on synthetic pajamas, and sleep on a synthetic mattress. And all those toxins are going into your skin. Exactly. Now, usually when I do that, people say, I want to go take a shower right now. Okay? The only thing you can do about that is to protect your body from the inside out. Unless you want to go live on top of a mountain like a monk in a loincloth, okay? If you want to have what we consider a normal existence with other people in the population, the only thing you can do is protect your body. And how do you do that? Well, you can eat fruits and vegetables. That is true. And that is still the best way to get your antioxidants. However, when you were growing up, yes, it was 1 apple a day to keep the doctor away. Today, it's 20 apples a day to keep the doctor away. And most human beings don't even eat one. Okay? Most human beings only get 1 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables per day if they're lucky. So that basically means you have to supplement. Then you get into a problem with supplement. There's 1,600 nutrition companies. How do you know which one is the best? Because they all say they're the best. Well, the real trick is to figure out which one is the best for you. Because you might be buying the most expensive product in the world, but if your body's not absorbing it, so what? It's going out in the toilet. And the only way that you can test and see if a product is producing an antioxidant benefit is with the scanner. And having the rights to the scanner allows us to give a product guarantee that it's a performance guarantee on our products. Not just a satisfaction guarantee. Satisfaction guarantee says, I don't like the color brown, I want my money back. A performance guarantee says, you get your baseline score, you go on our product for 60 days. At the end of 60 days, you get rescanned, and if your score hasn't gone up, you get all your money back. No other nutrition company will do that. And so that's very unique as well. Very excited to have the scanner. And guess what? Our company is thinking about other possible uses for the scanner as our future continues to evolve using the science that we have at our fingertips. Again, products for the inside and outside of the body, both. Okay? And we're going to continue to develop new products every year, at least for the next 17 years. We're going to keep developing new products every year, and that allows us to keep our business opportunity fresh. Okay? I'm sure there's people out there who are still very happy to be selling 8-track tapes, okay? But it's a very limited market, or cassette tapes. Okay? It's a very limited market. Here we have something that appeals to everybody on the inside and outside of the body. Next slide. There we go. Products that make a difference. Now, this woman looks much better today than she did in these pictures. These pictures are about 6 years old. And look underneath the neck. Does this have a pointer? Yeah, look underneath the neck. Look around there, and you can see the difference that these products made in this woman's appearance. And that's another thing that makes Nuskin and Pharmanex unique. I don't know what it's like here in London, but back over there on the other big piece of land across the ocean, there's a mindset of show me, don't tell me. I want to see results. I don't want you to just talk about results. I want to see them. And so we can demonstrate the difference in someone's appearance with a facial spa in 10 minutes or less, and you can give someone their scanner score in 30 seconds. We want to demonstrate the difference, and that's what we get to do. It's a unique business. Again, more products. Now, some people look at this and go, and how many guys are in the audience, right? Half of you? Almost half of you. Okay? Guys use this too. We do. We just don't tell anybody. Okay? And guys use this one too. Now, on the other piece of land across the ocean, we affectionately call this the sag sucker. It's very popular the first week of swimming suit season, when the lily white legs show up at the pool with the hail damage, okay? That's what that's for. Now, you see that? That's called opportunity. As people age, they do things to fight the aging process, and these are devices that help us get to do that. All over the world, 24/7, we get to have these things out there, and every time somebody's using one of these devices, what are they using with it? The gels. You see, when you have a business opportunity, what good is it to sell someone a device where you only need to sell it to them once? Okay? If you want to use your car, you have to put something in your car that's consumable, either electricity or gas. Okay? If you want to keep using your car, you have to keep putting those things into it. And so the consumable part of our products is really what drives our business. People are always going to be brushing their teeth, washing their hair, and doing things to their body with different gels. Okay? This is called six-pack Jack. Okay? When you look at genetics, the first thing our company did was take care of the outside of the body. So our first product took care of the genes that control aging of the skin from the Adam's apple to the top of the forehead. And that was a huge seller. In fact, ageLOC as a brand is $4.5 billion worldwide. That was the start of it. But then we went on the inside with vitality, and then we looked at the third problem of aging, which was getting fat, and we said, what can we do with the fat mechanism? And so TR90 was the first product developed using gene expression science to get rid of the fat in a human being and preserve the muscle. This gentleman's body weight is almost identical in both of these pictures. But the one with the fat and the one without the fat, which one do you want to be? Okay. Body weight's the same. So the scale you can throw in the garbage because it's really an insignificant number. Your antioxidant score and your body fat percentage are the two best predictors of longevity. More antioxidants and less body fat. And so six-pack Jack, we call him. And that product was a hit, even though maybe as a business launch it wasn't as successful as it could have been. It was still a huge hit and continues to be a huge selling product because what? Are people getting skinnier or fatter out there? Okay? People on our product are getting less fat. Next slide. There we go. Come on. Now, I picked on the guys a little bit out here. This is a total guy sale. If I look at my wife's bottles and all those little jars on the counter in the bathroom and all those little tubes, my brain isn't big enough to learn about all that stuff. And the doctor part of me goes, when they open up the jar and stick their finger in there, skin cells and bacteria fall off in that jar. So it's like a little cesspool of bacteria, a petri dish. And that's why companies have to put preservatives and stabilizing agents and alcohol in those products so that they don't become a petri dish. This device changes that. It's called ageLOC Me, and you guys are going to be blessed to get it in September as a limited time offer. Yeah, you want to be sent. These items here is where the money's going to be made. Okay, the device itself, that's a one-time sale. That's going to be awesome. But you're going to need 2 for every family, 1 for him and 1 for her. Okay, which is great. The money is right here. And the technology that we have here, there's 12 patents just wrapped up in that technology right there. This device is going to calibrate to the temperature and humidity of your house. It is going to dispense exactly what your skin needs twice a day. And if you want to travel, there'll be little travel cups that come with it. Okay? But this device is a game changer when it comes to the men part of skincare. We don't have to spend time learning about the bars and the bottles and the jars and the tubes and all that stuff. We're just going to stick our hand right in this space right there, and the machine is going to dispense exactly what we need. We're going to put it on, and we're done. Yeah. The money is in these little things. Now, I didn't see too many Keurig coffee makers here, but Keurig is an interesting business story. It was a company that was started by a couple kids in a dorm room, and they grew it to a $50 million a year company providing coffee makers for offices. And then another company came along as they were about to go broke and bought them out. That company was called Green Mountain. They were a coffee producer. And they understand the trend in the world is for personalization. We think we're so special. I want it my way. I want my food prepared my way. I want my clothes to be tailored. I want my car to be built specifically for me. People in the world want things my way. And personalized skincare is what this device develops for the first time in the skincare industry. Yes, the ladies go to the cosmetic counter, and a woman there will help them find just the right color for them. Okay? Personalized cosmetics that way. This is personalized skincare. You're going to fill out an app. It's going to tell you, there's going to be like 100 questions on that app. It's going to find out and figure out what your skin type is. And then these little packets right here will be a special mix just for you. And because they're not exposed to air, ever, they don't have to have preservatives. They don't have to have stabilizing agents. They're going to be the purest products available, and they're going to be brand new. We haven't made these before. It's a new product line in a category. And just like the Keurig coffee maker, right? There was like 30 million of those sold worldwide last year, just last year, 2014. And the revenue from the little cups that go in the coffee machine, $4.5 billion. Where does Hewlett-Packard make all its money? Not on the computers and the copiers they sell you at cost. They make it on the ink cartridges. And that's what you want to use as a metaphor right here. This is where your money is going to be made. A lot of money for both men and women. It's going to change the game in skincare. Are you happy about that? You should be. Yeah. All right. So that's enough from me. Who I get to introduce next is a young woman who I've known for as long as I've been in the business, and actually before that, because we did get to play with Tony Robbins quite a bit around the world. And just a very dynamic businesswoman, has accomplished a tremendous amount in her life. And so I want you to give a big hand, and I actually want you to stand up. I told you, stand up. I asked for my standing ovation at the end, thank you. And give a big hand for Artemis Limpert to come up and finish.
Good morning. What a pleasure to be with you guys. So how many of you guys this morning are guests? Let me ask that one more time. How many of you guys are with us for the first time this morning that are guests? Beautiful. I want to really speak specifically to you. I had the privilege of running across Nuskin 15 years ago, and I think that I would have jumped into free enterprise a lot sooner if somebody had asked me. Stager. Is that better? If I had how about this? Will this work for you guys? Can you hear me? Okay. The questions that I asked myself throughout my whole career, from the time that I graduated from high school up until I was 38, is what do I think that I would be good at? How many of you guys have made your career choices by what you thought you'd be good at? And how many of you guys would have chosen differently if you thought you could have done anything? How many of you guys, if you thought, I can do whatever, but you limited yourself to what you thought you could be good at? And I'm going to ask you to just consider this question for the rest of the time that we're together and whoever invited you here. And that's this: not do you think you'd be good at what we're talking about, but if you could create the future that you wanted, would you be willing to learn how to do it? If I had known to ask myself, what do I want to do? And then who do I need to get next to? I would have made the choices at 16, 17, 18, and 19 that I finally made at 39 and 40. And I wouldn't want you to limit yourself, because the future of what's going on here is so fascinating as the company doubles and doubles again. So for most of our lives, we usually are working in trading our time for money. And I know for myself, I made several career options where within a couple of years I knew that this wasn't what I wanted to do long term. So I made several career changes. I started out as a hairdresser, went back to college, went to work for nonprofits, went to work for for-profits because I thought that was the answer. And I have to tell you that finally getting into Nuskin was real profit. And where every other place within 3, 4, 5 years, I knew this wasn't it, although I didn't know where to go next. I've been here 15 years, and I've not been tempted to leave, and I'll never be tempted to leave. I just want more and more people. I just want more and more people to be able to have the opportunity to work in an environment like this. Often people are wondering about, coming to work for Nuskin, and the real question is, Nuskin and all of the resources here coming to work for you. That would mean the creativity. That would mean the positioning around the world. That would mean mentors from every background and any kind of understanding that you wanted that are constantly in the field, working around you, traveling around the world for you to learn from. I would have to say that if you had the choice of informal professors rather than your formal professors, I can tell you hands down that your informal professors have probably been the most impactful in your life. Is that true? So the informal professors here have absolutely groomed me at a level that I would have never been possible in any career. And I think majorly that's because in every other career, nobody was looking to have me replace them. Nobody was saying, the job that I want to do is over the next however many years, I want to take you from wherever you are to where we are and beyond. Has anybody done that for you? It's a very different feeling. I know that if I had gone to Nuskin and with my resume and said, I would like to interview to be a team elite, to go to the top of the company, to be a worldwide leader, and to impact people around the world, they would have laughed. I'm glad that's a dream. Come back when you're ready to do it. When you've done it somewhere else, then we'll hire you. If that had been a job. But what's interesting about listening to Bill and listening to Julie and the people that have invited you here is that the thought is, we'd like to groom you to go beyond where you've ever been, to do things you've never had a chance to do, but have always wanted to do, and to find out where things could go and how fast you can learn the things you've always wanted to know. That's kind of an incredible invitation. Then let's talk from a business perspective, where in many places companies are standing still or are going backwards. There's a few places where companies are growing, but that's not the trend for those that are employees. Is this true? And many people around the world, now that I've had the chance to travel over the last 15 years, I realize that in every part of the world, making money has definitely changed. And most people are displaced from their careers that may never have been their passions in the first place. Is that true? I'm always amazed when I go places to see how many people are in retail businesses in like a mall or in something like that whose backgrounds are things where they had a career somewhere else and it got eclipsed. And then I'm listening to a lot of the young people who, interestingly enough, have no interest to do what we've done. How many of you guys have kids and this is true? It's like they've looked and they've gone, it's not looking like you had a good time, and I've listened closely to the things that you're saying, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think it would be better to be, kind of a street sweeper than do what you did. You know what I mean? Like, I have big dreams, I want to do other stuff, but I already kind of have watched you. I learned how to walk from you, I learned how to talk from you, and I've learned not to do what you did in business. Parents, I don't have kids, but I've listened to a lot of the young people today. How many of you guys know that this is true? It's interesting. They have high goals to do something different and to not sacrifice their life for something that didn't look enjoyable. But they do want to have the lifestyle that everybody wants, to be able to do the things you want, to travel, to be able to provide. They have big goals, but they don't want to do it the way we did. So, a lot of people don't think that direct selling might be their answer. I don't think anybody grows up or is born and thinks, I'm going to be a network marketer. If they knew what it was, they would. But I was talking to some people yesterday, and they said, well, I just don't think that I'm good at sales. And I said, I don't think that's the question. Once again, it's not what are you good at, and this isn't really what you're thinking, but the real question is, what do you really want, and what could provide it? What are the options? I was talking to one gentleman, and he said to me, well, I'm kind of skeptical. Is this company really what they say they are? And I've heard this and that about network marketing and whatever. And I said to him, well, let me ask you this. Is there something else? How long have you been considering things for your career to reinvent yourself? This was a gentleman in his 50s. He said, it's been about 7 years. And I said, have you found anything else that even has a possibility of a solution? He said, no. I said, is there anybody competing for the possibility right now? And he said, no. And I said, so are you telling me that in the last 7 years, with all the things that you've known, with all the people that you know, there is nothing that you have run across that could even possibly be the answer? Am I hearing you right? And he said, yeah. And I said, then what do you have to lose to really actually open your mind and listen? Because this is the first thing that could possibly. And he said, yeah. I said, okay, you got a point to look. A lot of times we want to reject things, but the real interesting thing is if you and I actually had learned a long time ago, I was just talking in Bournemouth and in Paris to distributors, and I said, do you guys remember when you were a kid and you wanted to learn something that some other kid was doing, whether it was riding a bike or whether it was motor scootering or whether it was some other cool thing that came along, and all you wanted to do was do what they're doing? Do you remember that? Like, I just want to be able to do that. And do you also remember that you didn't care what it would look like learning it? Can you guys remember back then? When you were just excited. And in fact, you even thought learning it and even falling or not doing it well was going to make you look cool just because you were even trying. How many of you guys remember that? I never have thought that before in the whole 15 years, but for some reason you guys brought that to me in my mind. I was thinking, Guy, when did we forget that? To where if someone actually is doing something and they're enjoying it, and they're creating what they want to create, and yet as adults, for some reason, I don't want to look foolish, so I'll watch until I think I can do it, as if that ever worked. When did it stop being cool to learn what someone was doing that was working, that they were enjoying? And when did we care what other people were thinking? All we cared about when we were a kid is that we got to do it. I want to do what they're doing, right? Because in really thinking about what Julie and Bill have shared and what the people who are with you are sharing with you today, you've got to kind of remember that, and you've got to sort of open up your mind to say, okay, what is it that I've learned from my career so far? What things have I learned? Have I gotten bored? Have I gotten to the place where I'm effective? I know it, I'm skilled, but it's not inspiring anymore. I could make the money, I could keep doing it, but something in me wants to go somewhere else. How many of you guys have found yourself having that feeling? T.D. Jakes recently wrote a wonderful book, and he talked about the fact that, you know what, even if you put a lion in captivity, you still have to close the cage door. Why? If it was born in captivity, it always lived in captivity, why do you got to keep it in a cage? He said, because somewhere in that lion, it knows it was born to be out there. And so he said, if you bred it in captivity, the thing when you are going to set an animal free that's been born in captivity is that you have to realize that you're going to awaken its instincts slowly, right? They don't just take an animal that's been in captivity and let it free. They slowly put it in the environment and let its instincts come alive because those instincts are there. And he said, if you know somewhere in you that you are meant to be out there, he said, you want to go for it. Get your whole body out there and then put yourself around people who can awaken your instincts about being free. Let them awaken and let yourself become. And he said, giraffes have a very tall neck, a 9-foot neck. They have a 25-pound heart in order to pump the blood all the way up. And giraffes eat from the tops of the trees, right? So he said, the turtles are on the ground. And they eat from the ground, and that's all they get a chance to see. So he said, if a giraffe wants to talk to a turtle, they've got to put their head way down. And he said, this is a fact, that if a giraffe puts its head down for too long, couple of minutes or more, if they don't bring their head back up, they will lose consciousness. So he said, what you and I want to understand as people is that we eat from the level of our vision. We eat from the level of our vision. I was like, oh man, I don't know if you're feeling it. I got tingles as I was reading this and as I was listening to this. And he said, so listen, turtles aren't lying when they're telling you what they see or when they're telling you that they don't see what you see. They're not lying. They're just speaking from their perspective. And he said, if you know that you're a giraffe or if you see that your neck is starting to grow because you know you belong out there, he said, you want to understand that a giraffe can never explain a giraffe decision to a turtle. Someday that turtle's neck may grow. So if this is kind of something that's making a little bit of sense, if this is the first time that you're considering the fact that you're not going to work for something, but you're coming around a group of people who are saying whatever it is that you've wanted to develop in yourself, income-wise, personally, skill-wise, if you've ever really wanted to have life on your own terms, or you've gotten to the point where you're realizing that's really important. I know that when I got married and moved across the country to Texas from the East Coast, I got married for the first time at 39, and I remember realizing, wow, this is a choice limitation, that my husband's job is somewhere that for me is not pretty. Sorry, Texans. I was used to being within 40 minutes of the ocean. Now I was not even within 14 hours of an ocean. I could drive for days, and I'm still in Texas. And I don't mean to be rude to the Texans, but they actually think Texas is pretty, and that just shows they've never been out of Texas. I'm just saying. So the inspiration for me was the fact that I actually realized that, as you get older and you get married and you have kids and you buy a house, you start to limit your choices sometimes because all of these things make you think, now we have to consider all these things, so we have to keep doing what we're doing. So I literally said to my husband after 6 weeks, I know that my job is to get you out of your job, because I'm not going to die in Texas. And if we ever run across a direct selling company where the leadership is strong, I'm going to replace my 6-figure income. I'm going to replace your 6-figure income because I'm not going to die in Texas. And that's what inspired me to really start looking. And, as happens, 8 weeks later, somebody called me about Nuskin. And like I said, if I'd had to show what I've done to do what I'm doing, they would have said, you don't qualify. But the question was, are you willing to learn? You get a job for what you already know, right? You create your resume, and then you go to the next place saying, I've already done this, so I can do it for you, right? I've proven I can do it, so I can do it for you. But when you go into free enterprise, you come totally into free enterprise for what you're willing to learn. And if you ask yourself the wrong question, can I do it? Do I know how to do it? Do I think I know what it would take? You will never open up the possibility. But if you ask yourself, am I willing to learn? And then get next to the people that have invited you to say, would you teach me? Which the answer is, yes, we will. Then you can create whatever, because Nuskin has opened up completely new markets and are consistently doing that. So as a business person, they're doing all the heavy lifting. There's no overhead to speak of. But there is the learning curve. But you know what? The most rewarding thing that most people say happens in their life is mentoring someone. And the most rewarding possibility when you talk to someone who's got an extraordinary life, if you ask anybody who has done something in a less time or that's extraordinary, how many of you guys know when you ask them, they say, I had a mentor. I got a chance to do this because somebody opened a door. I got a chance to do this because I met someone when I was young or when I was right about to make a change. I met someone who took my hand and said, come. I accelerated in sports because a coach chose to groom me. And that's really the invitation that's happening today. The ability to work and to build a network, to be groomed by someone to do things you never even thought was possible, but something you've always dreamed of. So when I'm talking with people about the possibility here, I tell them that there's no company that could attract all of us. Number one, we're priceless and they can't afford us. But number two, there's no place else where the role and the goal is that everybody's at the top. There isn't any place else where that's the possibility, but you don't even have to go to the top. You can go wherever it is that you would like, whatever it is that's your goal in life, whatever that is, and then if you want to go further, the door will always be open. So this business attracts people who get to collaborate in a way that most people dream about. And we get to create results in the world and in business that most people never get a chance to see. So I want to ask you guys, have you ever, at Christmas or a holiday, been around family and friends and been having dinner or been having drinks and said, God, wouldn't it be cool if we could find something where we could work together? Have you guys ever had that conversation? Ever gone out with friends after work and said, God, if only we could work together, it'd be fun? Have you said it? Have you had that happen? Because this is the place where you get to choose who you work with. This is the place where everybody can come. And what it means to leverage, I want to bring Marion up. Marion, I don't know where you're sitting, but can I grab you? Talking about leverage and talking about, when you really go after a dream, the fact is you can't ask yourself, how's it going to come about? You just have to say that I'm going to put myself out there in a way that's different, and I'm going to trust the path, like Kim Russell meeting Bill and Bill meeting Kim Russell on a plane at 35,000 feet, both of whom live in podunk nowhere, Waller, Texas, with one light and a lot of cows. They both had the same vision. They came from different things, and when both of them said, I'm from Waller, they both looked at each other like, are you kidding? We have a similar vision. We both live where there's one light and a bunch of cows, and we found each other at 35,000 feet. I mean, who can plan stuff like that? You got to just let it happen. So I started my business in 2000, and 6 years later, I was visiting Indiana, a very small town where Marion from Paris, her husband, who works for BP Oil, was transferred to the United States. And in this private school were a couple that were in my business. And I was up there presenting, and we were sitting in a second grade classroom in little chairs with little desks, and Marion was sitting next to me, but I had no idea who she was, okay? I didn't know if she was a distributor. I had no idea. But I knew that we both all looked kind of cool sitting in the second grade chairs with the little desks talking about possibilities. And you know what? That's kind of cool based on what I just said, because that's the age where you don't care. You just want to do what other people are doing that are cool, right? And so little did I know that Marion that night chose to join this business. Okay? And what we were working with in the United States at the time was different than Europe. And 6 months later, her husband got transferred back to England. She came back, Nuskin was here, and she was wise enough to stay connected, not only to us in the United States who loved her and had fallen in love with her, but with the team here. And about a year later, she got in touch with someone who 20 years before had been in a business course with her over a weekend. Are you listening? That woman wasn't ready at the time, but 6 months later when Marion reconnected, she'd been fired. She no longer wanted to be in that career and was very open to something different and was looking for a transition in her life. Her name is Emmanuelle Granat. Some of you know her. And Emmanuelle came into the business. She came to the United States, went to a convention, and then came to work with me for a week in my home. And then she brought it back to Paris. And then she brought in some different people, a couple of twin sisters, one of whom decided to just be a consumer, but the other one is Corinne Barrel. And some of you know Corinne. Now, Marion and Emmanuelle and Corinne have led my business all over Europe, where I have the pleasure of coming here, but I didn't know anybody in Europe. In 2000, I had a $119 desk and a phone and a vision, and no idea how it was going to come about. But you just have to kind of release and realize that the most effective thing happened in my life just by being open, by talking with people, and by letting a network over a period of time take me all over the world. And now I have not only the people that are directly in my team, but many of you that I have the privilege of not only being able to share my experience, but she's become an amazing leader. And I have adored in the last 48 hours watching her excellence, watching who she's become and watching her leading all over Europe. She's an amazing, amazing lady, as many of you are. So those of you who are guests,
thank you. Thank you, Artemis.
You're being invited to have a possibility that you can't ask how, but you can ask yourself, would I like? And you can say to yourself, will you teach me what you do? And the answer to that will be yes. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. So basically, I've told you all of these things without looking at the slide. The bottom line for everybody is if you have a chance to build a leveraged income, if you have a way of building an asset rather than trading time for money, there's nobody and no book that you could read that wouldn't say do it. I was talking with an actress who's got a $500 check from one little job that she did, and she's so excited as she was telling me, here's the deal. For 10 years, I've gotten a $500 check because I was part in this movie, and here's the really cool thing. They even cut my part out, and I still get a residual check. She goes, that is really cool. And I said, God, I got to have you talk to some people who don't understand why that's so cool. They make $500 and then they think that that's not enough. And I said, they really don't understand how cool it is to do something once and get paid over and over and over and over and over and over. Are you getting it? And over again for something you did once. That is way cool. If you don't know why it's cool, you got to try it so you know why it's cool. Okay? So whatever the position is here that you would like, if you would like to just kind of try the products, I encourage you because there's something different happening in the way you can age and take care of your health. For those of you guys who are over 35, you want to talk to people over 35 about anti-aging. But if you're talking to people who are 20 to 35, you have to talk to them about preserving youth. Same thing. They just kind of don't understand anti-aging. But they do understand preserving youth. So that's just a little hint. Yeah, it's all in the words. But the cool thing is, if you want to just be a consumer and see whether or not what we're doing works for you so that you know that naturally you would want to recommend and possibly be a part of what's going on, do. If you already know that you want to be in front of the growth of this company and be paid for something over and over again that you've done once, then you want to consider becoming a distributor and a distributor leader. I'm just going to very quickly talk to you about the possibility of the incomes here, and that is that as you build and have the invitation to mentor others, it's not, do I have to find other people? It's so many people in this world are looking for a different way of life that if you are willing to open up a possibility, there are many people who want to have the conversation. So as a distributor who is a leader building a business, you have the opportunity to build a board of directors of 12. And the average incomes as you build your board of directors, 622 pounds a month as you have your first leader that's doing the business, going to 1,000 when you have 2, going to 1,700 when you have 4, going to 3,100 as you find 6 business leaders that want to groom, going to 6,300 when you have 8. And if you choose to go on to let your network expand, as I've found with Marion, then as you find 12 and that network explodes, your monthly income, the average is 24,000 pounds. So this is an unusual invitation. I don't know if your time is right, but I want to tell you that it's worth looking with the person and having a really open discussion to discover where you've really wanted to go in life. Is your career where you've wanted it to go? If it's not where you've wanted it to go, or you've got dreams that you don't have the vehicle for, this is a great place to have an awesome conversation. Thank you guys for having me over the last couple of days, and it's been wonderful being with you.